G'day people, I'm Sharyn, welcome to my channel. Big thanks again to Susie for allowing me to use her 744D for these tutorials. Today I'm going to be looking at tension, and in the 744D the tension discs are vertical and they are under, or they're where the numbers are on the top of your machine. What the number refers to is how hard those discs are pressing together. So at 0 it's pretty light and it just flows through very easily. When you put it up to 7, the tension discs are holding it tight and it makes it harder for the machine to pull that thread through. On your needles, that means that what is pulling the thread through is your fabric. So a very lightweight fabric, if your tensions are high, the lightweight fabrics are going to have a lot of trouble pulling that thread through the tension discs on the needles. It's not nearly so bad if you're trying to do something on denim, which is really strong. But in all cases, the higher the number, the more the tension discs are pressing on your thread. I will start by doing regular tension, everything as it should be. Threads are nice and close to the edge. They're not loopy on the front. On the back, I can barely see the left and right needle. There's a little tiny bubble of yellow and a little tiny bubble of blue. And the red from the upper looper is just coming to the edge, and it's just coming to the edge, the green from the lower looper. So there I've got nice balanced tension. If you watched my video on how to thread the 744D, I showed you an area where there is a 3/4 or a 2 and said it was a switch. Let's see what happens when you've got that switch in the wrong place. The only thing I'm going to change this time is I'm moving this from 3/4 down to 2. And I'm going to do this to show you what happens when that has accidentally been moved. It sort of looks okay from the front, but it has taken the upper looper and pulled it over to the back. Playing with your tensions is not really going to help this. That is this switch that has done it. I'm going to play with the yellow or left needle tension now, and I'm going to take it very low. On the back, you can see the yellow thread now is coming through and making big loops on the back. The green thread, the lower looper, is not going all the way over where it ought to. The rest of it doesn't look bad on the front, but the real kicker on this is when you go to pull on a seam. So this is the seam that I've just sewed, and when I pull on it, put any pressure on it, look at how those threads just appear like a ladder up the seam. And that is because that yellow thread did not have enough tension on it. If you do not have 4 threads that are all the correct colour to use with your garment, the left needle thread is one that you need to try and get correct. That's one that if it's anything wrong with your stitch, it's going to be visible in the seam. The other one is the lower looper, which is the one on the far right. So if you've got 2 threads that you can use that are the correct colour, use one in your needle and one in the lower looper. The 2 in the middle won't necessarily show up on things the same way. and often I'll use grey if I don't have the right colours there. I'm now going to put a lot of tension on the needle thread. Too much tension and it's pulled it up like it's trying to gather it. So that needle thread now is so tight that the machine can't drag the needle tension or the needle thread through while it's sewing. The fabric's not strong enough to do that. It's also possible to see the green thread coming through on the left hand side. So if I try and open this one out, aside from the fact that you can see it's all being gathered up, what I can see now is the green thread. Not a great deal of it, but the green thread is being pulled through because that yellow thread is too tight. If I move the yellow one back to where it's supposed to be, move the blue one down to 0. On the right side, looks fine, but on the left side, there's big knobs of the blue thread. This one won't actually be visible when you open out the seam, but it does mean you haven't got as much security on that seam because the second needle thread is not providing the security it should be providing. Now I will take the right needle up to 7. Because that blue thread is so tight, it's pulling on the upper looper and distorting the stitches. So it's done something quite different to what tightening up the yellow thread did. Put that back to 3. Even with those first 2 threads both being needle threads, what happens to the tension when you move them is different. It pays to work out which particular thread is causing the problem. Sometimes it's a combination, but often if you think about it enough, you can work out exactly which thread is causing your problem. Take the upper looper, the red thread, down to 0. It doesn't look terribly bad on the right side, but on the wrong side you can see that that thread is very loose, so it's not going to give me good control over the edge of the fabric, and it's no longer meeting on the top, it's not holding it firm. We'll take that up to 7. In this case, the red thread is too tight. It's pulling the green thread over from the back. So it's not meeting on the edge of the fabric anymore. And in fact, it's beginning to roll that fabric towards the front. That back to regular. Lower looper, take it down to 0. The lower looper thread is so loose it's coming to the front, and in fact it caused it to break. So one of the reasons that you can have thread breakages is because a thread is doing something really weird and it's getting a lot of pressure put on it, and there we go, it broke. Now that I've rethreaded, I'm going to turn that lower looper thread up to 7. So now it will be very tight. It will be hard for the machine to pull thread through that. From the right side, it doesn't look too bad, but when you get to the back, you can see that the upper looper threads have pulled around the edge and they're getting dragged over. It's a little bit trying to bend the fabric. The obvious reason why your machine has got no tension on any particular thread is because for some reason you've got the tension discs open, so the number's down very low. But sometimes the numbers would indicate it should be fine. So what's holding it open? Maybe there's something stuck in there. It could be that you've got some lint or some thread that has got stuck in the tension discs. The way to get it out is to lift the foot on your machine, and that opens up all of the tension discs, and then run a folded piece of cloth between the discs. Hopefully you'll dislodge something and then it will all start to go the right way for you again. Hope you're feeling a bit more confident about your tension now, and I'll see you next time.